will continue to be able to use the stretch feature. The two dates all right, I just got a question here. I'll answer that in a moment. The two dates to be familiar with, if you were born on June 30th, 1949 or before, you can continue with your RMDs. If you were born on July 1st, 1949, June 30th, 1949, you're at the 70 and a half and continue, and you're not affected by the new rules. If you're born on July 1st, 1949, you are, and you can also stretch your RMDs out to 72 years old, where you don't have to take them until 72. Also, if you are working after 72, you can continue to add to your IRA, but you're also at the same time will be doing required minimum distributions. So say you're asked to take out $15,000 of your IRA for a required minimum distribution under the old rules. You can now add, especially over 50, the 5,000 plus 1,000 to have a 6,000 contribution in the same year. Now, planning for IRA owners, what will have to be done is a full analysis of pretty much everybody's beneficiaries, trusts, and asset allocation to adjust the tax efficiency of your wealth transfer upon death. So what I'm offering is I will analyze those, and also I will do a full-blown financial plan for anybody that's involved with Breathmatters at your convenience, and it is totally free. And typically I charge between $200 and $1,000 for that, depending upon the complexity of the financial plan. So if anybody in here would like me to review any or all of what they've got, their wills, their trusts, their estates, their investments, I'd be happy to do that free of charge. And I'm kind of flipping through this because it is a long presentation. I'm looking for the Roth page because there is an illustration here. Typically what the illustration states is that one of the big areas to look at is Roth conversions prior to turning 70 and a half or 72 and a half. And this, the big question is, will you be in a low enough tax bracket to do this and not have huge tax consequences? And my suggestion, as I said earlier, would be to, if you can afford this on the tax front, because as you convert your IRA to a Roth IRA, it is a taxable event. So to avoid early wealth transfer and taxes, you could slowly convert your Roth IRA your traditional IRA over to a Roth IRA, which would pretty much take care of the tax hit, because your Roth, will have paid taxes on that. And just a simple example, a father has $1 million in his IRA, he's age 65, his taxable income is $100,000. That puts him in a 22% marginal tax rate. Now, if he was to convert over a 7-year period slowly that $1 million into a Roth IRA and then leave it to his son, and we're assuming his son may be either in the 24 or 32% tax bracket, thus you've saved up to 10% for your son in the tax consequences of inheriting an IRA versus a Roth IRA. There's more, but those are the big ones as far as the Secure Act and how it affects our investment lives. So if anybody needs any assistance in reviewing their beneficiaries, trusts, wills, I'd be happy to help. Now I'm going to switch over to the good stuff, and that's the market implications of this COVID and where we are currently and where I expect us to go. So let me just go ahead and flip up these now these you'll be able to see because there's a lot of graphs, but let me just see if I can get rid of this guy. There's not a form still up on the screen, is there?
No.
Okay. All right, let's go to, let's see here. I'm just trying to find my JP Morgan piece. Hang on one second. It's not showing everything, but we're going to go ahead and open it. Let's see, where are you? Let's see. Okay, now I'm going to try to share this. Here we go. Can you see that? It says Economic and Market Update, March 31st, 2020.
Hold on a second.
See it?
Yeah.
We're good? Okay, I use JP Morgan for a lot of my economic data. I'm a big data guy, and so they release a quarterly piece that's, I think, 100 pages long, and it's just filled with economic data and facts about the economy and the stock market. And that's where I base a lot of my decisions, not on the hearsay or MSNBC, but on true facts. So what JP Morgan has done for us is put together just a synopsis of where we are with COVID and where we're going. So I'm going to page through this and explain this to you to give you a better understanding of where we are. So this first screen, the agenda: growth, jobs, profits, and inflation. Implications for those investing in fixed income, U.S. equities and international equities, and diversified investing risks and opportunities. This first screen right here will show you that these is cases, recoveries, and fatalities by region. And you can see here's China, 874,000 cases worldwide. And it's showing China as 82,361 cases, 76,401 recoveries, and 3,316 deaths. And to the right of it is the mortality rate. The growth in cases is this blue line, and the mortality rate is this black line. A 5% mortality rate is I think that number's skewed because I think China's not giving us all the information or any of the information about the COVID virus. If you look at this, how on earth could China only have 82,000 cases when they have like 2 billion people? I think what happened in China is this thing got so out of control that they just withheld all of the information or distorted it like they like to do, thus giving us these numbers. Because why would you, if you look over here, you got a 5% mortality rate, you have a big growth in cases, and then all of a sudden, boom, down just out of nowhere. And this mortality rate is awfully high. I think COVID's going to actually end up having between a 1 and a 1.5% mortality rate. And it may even be lower than that, because right now what they're doing is they're counting people with pre-existing conditions as COVID deaths if they got COVID and died. In the medical field, that is not the right way to count deaths. Basically, if you have stage 4 leukemia and you catch the flu, cold, or COVID, that's a secondary cause. That is not the primary cause of death. But the way it's being counted is if somebody with pre-existing conditions catches COVID and dies, they chalk it up as a COVID death, which is not the right way to look at it. And so I think these numbers right here from China are bunk, completely bunk. And I think that I've got a good friend that's is a patent attorney that does a lot of work for China, Japan, and overseas. And he explained to me that cell phone ownership dropped by 2 million users during the COVID outbreak in China. So where did those people go? So that's one indicator that this thing was way bigger than China's leading on. And we figured it out, obviously, with this pure shutdown on the economy. And I think, in my mind, the hysteria has gotten to the point where it's, in hindsight, it's going to look like we went way over the top on this and it was overblown. I don't agree with a full quarantine of all Americans. I don't agree with it at all. I think that what should have happened in the first place would have been to quarantine those highest at risk, not the whole entire U.S. Population and economy. Because the damage from this, if we continue to stay home as working Americans, will be far greater than the COVID virus itself. So I'm hoping that at some point, Congress and the president starts to work on a plan to get people back to work. And I mean, as quickly as possible. And so I know there's a lot of other people that think differently than I do, but this is like the sixth big crisis I've seen. And this may be the biggest. Every single crisis we've seen the stock market within a fairly short period return to where it was before, and even advance higher after whatever calamity occurred. And I'm talking about, I've been in the business since the oil crisis in the early 90s, the internet bubble bursting in 2000, the 2008-2009 world financial crisis, the 2015 oil collapse, and now we've got COVID and an oil collapse. So we've got two very large things happening at the same time. And thus, that's the reason you've seen the market trade off as much as 35% in very, very short order. So I'm going to go to my next slide. This shows social distancing vulnerabilities to our economy. And you can see here, consumer spending by industry in 2019, employment by industry in 2020, and then the big one over here on the right, earnings contribution by industry. And you can see 5.36 billion of our trillion of our $10.71 trillion economy is retail ex food and beverage. 1.38 trillion restaurants and bars, 1.05 trillion entertainment, 1.83 trillion airlines, and 1.808 trillion in hotels and tourism. If you look at that, pretty much everything's closed. And this is our U.S. economy. So we will see some horrific numbers coming out. But I think the market is somewhat prepared for that because we had, and I've never seen this before, days for about 2 weeks where the stock market moved 10% in one day. And it happened on a regular occurrence for about 2.5 weeks. Most of it was on the downside. We're still seeing volatility. Like, for instance, the Dow is down 425 today, but the immense extreme volatility of 10% up, 10% down, circuit breakers coming in all the time.